absolute banger in a grappler's paradise as, you know, the wizard Ryan Hall looks to get back on his roll. He's taking on Glory Fitness and MMA's own Darrick Minner, a man cut from the same cloth. He loves to grab the submission. And listen, if you want a perfect Darrick Minner fight to go back when you're doing your tape study in preparation for Ryan Hall, remember that time as a giant underdog when he fought the young Canadian TJ Laramie? Not far from here in Ontario, Canada. There's one but not two Laramies, and I wish they would fight more often. And for Darrick Minner, well, he went in there and snatched that win up very quickly. It was a great win, and he's one of those guys that, if you watch a Darrick Minner fight, go watch his fight against Terrence McKinney if you want a good one. Minner fought an insane level of competition on the regional scene. That McKinney win, they had both already been on Contender Series. They highlighted and headlined a big-time card in Nebraska. And for Minner, he accepts the takedown, and then he gets the submission. He's one of those slippery guys that has deceiving strength when it comes to being on the mat, and very interesting wrestling. He'll give up position to maybe gain a submission at a certain point. Doesn't necessarily work against a Ryan Hall, but in a lot of Minner fights, he's able to do that. Now, is he susceptible to getting submitted himself? 110% he is. He primarily loses by submission. He's a kill or be killed type of grappler. But he brings an interesting challenge to Ryan Hall, who, in his last fight, fought a guy that's similar in that respect in Ilia Topuria, where when he grapples, it's all power, it's all fury. Ilia Topuria grapples in this division like you saw William Knight and Alonzo Menefield grapple in their last fight. It's power and fury, and somebody's getting messed up. However, Ilia also happens to be one of the best boxers in this division, and for the triple threat that is Ilia Topuria, he made Ryan Hall look kind of pedestrian. So now we come into this fight where Darrick Minner's not Ilia Topuria whatsoever. He has the grappling, he has the wrestling, but he doesn't have the striking that Topuria has at all. So Ryan Hall gets a big opportunity to represent 50-50 and come in here and make this not necessarily a 50-50 fight and get another W on his record. And Ryan Hall had a giant win streak. He was the Leonardo Santos of this division. Now we're here, Matt. This is an interesting fight. I love it. What are you saying here?
This is an awful fight for Darrick Minner. Like, probably the worst fight in the whole entire division for him. And I know people look at Ryan Hall and it's like, hey, he's kind of nerdy. He just looks like a regular guy. What's so special about him? I'm here to tell you what's so special about him. Do you like the ligaments in your legs the way that they are? Probably. I'm guessing you do.
There are people in Peru like Claudio Poyes that have posters of this guy on their ceiling when they're thinking of pulling knee bars and such.
Nothing but world-class strikers in Peru. Here's the thing about Ryan Hall. If you are trying to grapple him, you're not going to win. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name is in this division. If you go out there and grapple with Ryan Hall, you're going to lose at the end of the day. The difference was Ilia Topuria was able to strike and strike with power when Ryan Hall was going for those wonky takedown attempts, because they were weird. He doesn't go for single legs, he doesn't go for double legs. He goes for weird hip trips, he goes for weird, like, scissor takedowns like Joe Lozon used to do. Like, it is all very unorthodox. But Darrick Minner needs takedowns to win his fights. He does not win his fights on the feet, ever. It's always that kill or be killed kind of grappling style, and Minner's kind of weird. He's not a catch wrestler, but his style does remind me a little bit of catch wrestling, where it's not just like, okay, I'm attacking with triangles off my back. It's a lot of head and arm chokes. It's a lot of you really feeling his force and feeling his pressure to then open up those submissions. My problem with all that, though, is that stuff doesn't work against Ryan Hall. And Ryan Hall, if you give him an inch on the ground, he is going to take a mile. And when you bring up the fact that Minner not only loses by submission, he loses by a wide variety of submissions, too. It's not just like he's susceptible to rear naked chokes or arm bars. He's been submitted in a wide variety of ways. You know what the really cool thing about Ryan Hall is? He doesn't just need a arm bar. He doesn't need a leg lock or rear naked choke. He can submit you any way possible. And not just in a cage, he can submit straight up jiu-jitsu guys in jiu-jitsu tournaments and do it pretty much any way possible. Like, that's how high level the grappling of Ryan Hall is. So I know a lot of people might be down on him based on his last performance against Topuria, but I don't know if you saw, ESPN just released their like top 25 under 25 ratings for rankings for MMA. Number 1 was Song Yadong. I can agree with that. He's very good. He's still very young. Number 2, Ilia Topuria. Like, that's the type of caliber of fighter that we're talking about when we bring up Topuria. So just because Hall looked bad against him, I don't think he will against Minner.
If you're an early Fight Night Picks fan from 2018, you'll know Ilia Topuria. You also knew Ramiz Brahimaj, who's in the UFC now. Like, there were some names out there very, very early on. Petr Yan was on that list too. But when we look at this fight, yeah, I mean, I talked about the level of competition for Darrick Minner, and I mentioned the wins that he had outside of the UFC. Terrence McKinney was one. Here's some of the losses. Herbert Burns on Contender Series, Kevin Kroom, Jordan Griffin, who else? Chico Camus, Jesse Arnett, Canada's own, Luke Sanders. Like, the list really goes on. He had a win over Clay Collard on the regional scene. That's pretty cool. For Ryan Hall, the 5-on-in. Artem Lobov, the win almost 6 years ago. Gray Maynard, Darren Elkins, Ilya Topuria, a fight there as well. BJ Penn. And if you want to play MMA math, Ryan Hall beat Darren Elkins, and Darren Elkins beat Darrick Minner in one of the most emotional post-fight interviews I've seen in a long time. The guy's just doing it for his family, Darren Elkins. He's no longer the damage. He's graduated to, I don't know.
The family man.
Family man, plant supervisor. He's no longer on the ground floor. But Matt, when I look at this fight, Darrick Minner coming in here at a plus 178 underdog as it sits right now. Open to plus 220, so he's gained a little bit. Ryan Hall open to minus 260. He's minus 221. If we have a look at the Tapology votes, 718 total votes, 80% Hall, 83% by submission for the 20% that have Minner, 52% decision, 29% by knockout. The 29% of the fans that have Darrick Minner to win by knockout only watched Ryan Hall's last fight and only looked at the record on the page. Matt, in this fight, I have Ryan Hall. I have certain reservations. I mean, again, Darrick Minner's a strong character for this division.
But this is the thing. When you use strength, you get tired faster.
And not beat finesse.
No, exactly. Like, strength beats a lot of things. But Luka Doncic has my favorite quote ever. And it's that I'd rather miss small than miss big because I'm not a great athlete. Like, scoring in America is easier than scoring in Europe because you rely on your athleticism in North America and you don't in Europe. You just rely on your technique. Technique is always going to beat just brute athleticism. And I know Ryan Hall, he's a little bit older, he's wonky, and I'm not even saying this fight's going to look good until he wins. He's probably going to be doing a lot of weird stuff that's going to make all of his face palm against their TVs. But he's probably going to get some wonky submission and probably look amazing.
I wouldn't listen to a damn thing Luka Doncic says. He's like a 1970s hockey player when training camp was training camp and you smoke grits on the bench. Matt, for me,
Luka Doncic.
Both of us actually going with the man himself, the wizard, Ryan Hall, in this fight. If you can make a compelling argument either way, we want to hear from you down below in the comments section. Make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, maybe? Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, because we are out there. You can find us at Fight Night Picks. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say, let's get into